Hello! Wow, we've got a crowd tonight, and I apologize for the temperature. It's set on 66. We'll just do the best we can. Welcome to Beaverdale Books. It's so good to see you all here to share tonight's wonderful book. But before we begin, I want to mention some upcoming events because I do marketing, and so I have to do a little ad. We have Bruce White's coming next Wednesday for his book, The Pursuit of Citizenship, Past, Present, Promise. And we have Nicole Terrizzi with her book, Learning in Freefall. And that's on Thursday, August 7th. And I just finished that book. If you know any educators, it's the story of her work 2 years in the inner city of Kansas City as a Teach for America teacher, and it's a really impactful story. So if you know any teachers, tell them to come to that. Both events are at 6:30 p.m. And we have our summer local author fair on August 2nd. That's Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m. and we'll be featuring 5 authors with a variety of genres. You can find all the details on our website, or you can pick up a flyer at the register, or you can sign up for our newsletter. And we are not obnoxious with our newsletter. We only send 2 a month, so we don't fill your inbox and we don't share your email. Now, tonight's program. This beautiful coffee table book features more than 100 color photos of Des Moines walls taken in the last decade. Many of these are of scenes we pass by without ever noticing, but that Jim found interesting to record. And some of these locations are hard to identify because they no longer exist or they've been changed. And Jim hopes that you will enjoy the challenge as well as his artistic eye. This book truly is a treasure for anyone interested in the history and the beauty of Des Moines. Jim is a Des Moines native who has enjoyed taking photographs since high school. He worked as a newspaper photographer and in the photo lab business at numerous locations, and he has displayed his work in one-man shows and at photo contests all around. Please join me in a warm welcome for Jim Zeller and his assistant, Dawn.
Thank you, Jan.
Okay, now you're going to move over.
Okay.
A little more, because we want the picture.
So I have 2 words for you right off the bat, and so I don't forget it, and that is Connie Wilson. So Connie Wilson, who is the premier graphic designer in Des Moines, designed my book for me. And I begged her to design my book for me. And I waited, and I waited, and I waited, so I finally got to the front of the queue, and we got the book done. So if you like the book, thank Connie, don't thank me.
I'm going to have to move a little bit.
Nope, no more. Okay.
Perfect.
So I didn't set out when I was out taking pictures to do a book on walls, but it just accumulated that when I started looking through all my pictures, I realized, well, I got a lot of pictures of walls. And I also realized I got a lot of really long pictures of walls. And I started thinking about, well, maybe there's a book there, but I can't really send those pictures down into the gutter and back out again, those big long ones. So I thought, well, I need to have a kind of a lay flat book. And then I decided I needed a square book. And I went to Connie and said, I need a lay flat book that's square, and so and so. And then she let me pick the font, and so we took it from there. And it was quite a labor. So I thought what I'd do to start off with is to just show you pictures that I've taken over my lifetime, and give you an idea how some of these things I've been doing for a long time, and you can kind of get a feeling for it. This is a picture from high school, and I can't really tell you if that's me or that's John, but I think that's John. With a little camera, which is about the size of the camera that I still use. Okay. Next. And there's my friend John Nitzke looking down at his camera. Okay, next picture.
East German camera.
And okay, here's an early picture. This is gone now. This is one of the bridge over Court Avenue. And that's Walnut Street. Yeah. Now here, this is something that a kind of motif I like to use, which is like reflections. And you see a lot of reflection pictures. And pizzeria and State House. Across 235. And that's Riverview. Before that got torn out, there was the last remnants of Riverview. That was when the Pope came, and everybody's waving at the wrong helicopter. Because that was the first helicopter. We all assumed that was the Pope. Well, no, he was coming in the second helicopter. So anyway, we all waved at that one, and then we didn't wave at the Pope when he came.
Cute.
And that's a beer drinking contest in Okoboji, about early 80s. And those one side are Vietnamese, and the other side, I think, are Thai Dam, right? And they're listening to the instructions and the rules of the beer drinking contest, because they're all wonderfully looking right at the camera. So anyway, it's a fun picture. Here we go, we're getting into reflection again. That's downtown library. There's more reflections. That's, of course, Yonkers. And that's Grand Avenue, of course. That's insurance company.
Blue Cross.
Yeah, Blue Cross Blue Shield. That's the saying in the newsroom is F8 and be there, which means F8 is just your aperture, and it just means set it at it, and the important part is be there, right? And I just happened to be there right when that happened, and I was like, oh, okay. So sometimes, the gods smile on you. So, and of course, that's gone too now. It's Yonkers, and that's Skywalk to Yonkers. But again, more reflections going on here, going on here, going on there. So, more reflections down there. More reflections here. Well, that's Yonkers back in the day, and some weird reflections going on. Sinister looking photograph. And of course, Botanical Center, and that would be nothing if it weren't for all these nice reflections of the roof of the building. So, and of course, all those reflections off of all those pennies. So. And then I did this big show on churches in Des Moines. I got into like 90-some churches and took pictures of things I found interesting. And nobody ever followed me around. They just let me go and do whatever I wanted because I had my bow tie on. If you wear a bow tie, you're harmless. Who thinks you can do anything bad to them? So, anyway, this is I think Jordan Methodist Church, and and this is that Presbyterian church just off of Hickman.
Oh, God, that's nice.
And this is a little black church on Franklin Avenue. It's no longer there. Somebody had done some nice art. So I was looking for unusual homemade things, not government issue church stuff, right? And yeah, there's a little bit more. So again, the fact that they had done all this work with the paper really made it a lot more special than if they just have like walls. So that's of course the now the Traveler's Umbrella. Before it was very complicated. It would say insurance all forms, and then say Traveler's Insurance, and then the top of the umbrella would come up and go up and down. And of course, it makes it seem like that it's Equitable Iowa that's got the insurance, but that's not the case. So anyway, that's on Ingersoll Avenue. Was on Ingersoll Avenue. I'm trying to think of whose was that?
Charles Davis? No.
Crescent.
Crescent Chevrolet.
Crescent, that's right.
No, this
It's
is
a Dodge.
Plymouth or
Dodge.
Chrysler. It's Dodge. Chrysler. Anyway, whatever it is,
Yeah.
you know.
Car place.
It was attractive. I took a picture of it. Okay. This picture is interesting because, of course, this is one of the bridges over the river, and I took that picture on negative film, which to make prints, and I put it in the slide processing machine. That's called cross processing, which normally would completely screw it up, right? I mean, but for some reason, it really worked well right on this one particular picture. So that was a mistake that turned out pretty darn good. So I'm showing you this of course the Civic Center a long time ago before these trees grew up and they got cut down, and so you kind of see this motif that's in the book. Well, I was doing that a long time ago. Okay. Again, same kind of thing, flat on, look for some design elements. This was over on off of East Grand on the east side a long time ago. Court Avenue area a long time ago. This would be the early 80s. You know, I liked it because the buildings were half painted and half sandblasted, I guess. And that's over in Snoozeville. So it's, Marvin's Meat Market. Okay.
Domestic violence.
And of course, the Mini East Adult Theater. And of course, and there's a red hot deal. So, but again, you know, I like the juxtaposition of these two things in the image. I don't mind cutting things off wherever I want to cut them off. You know, so, and all these are all 2x3 aspect. So that's what you see in a 35mm camera, right? And so that's pretty much what I did for years and years and years until in this book I've just completely abandoned it. You know, there aren't that many 2x3 images, but that's what we did back then. Okay, next one. And that's Meredith Corporation from the south side. And that's downtown east side again. And that's Court Avenue, kind of funky looking copy of the picture. And here again, you know, it's like, as I say, you know, I had to wait till the sun came around, you know, and then through these shadows. So I sat there for 15 minutes waiting for the sun to arrive where I wanted. And now I took a lot of pictures at the State Fair. I always liked the State Fair. And this kind of art's kind of disappeared from the State Fair, you know, it's gone downhill. Another State Fair picture.
How'd you take that one, John?
Oh, it's slow exposure, you know.
Yeah.
Just kind of, I might have actually had a tripod, so I hope I
Push
can.
this button and go back.
What?
The other arrow.
Oh,
The other
yeah,
arrow.
okay, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, so that's
So
a
pretty.
further long exposure. I'm not sure.
Oops, sorry.
That was film.
No, that's digital.
Oh, digital.
That's digital. So yeah, now this is an old film picture. Now, the reason it's black and white is that I had all these negatives, and I figured out how to scan them, but they'd been sitting in a drawer someplace for so long that they got all blotchy, and the dyes, the color dyes got blotchy on the film. And so when I tried to make a color image of it, it really looked horrible. So I said, well, I'm just going to have to live with it as a black and white. So sometimes you just have to do that. So sometimes you just have to go crazy. You know, that's what I did there. Because I had this image, and I thought, you know, in terms of the composition, I liked it, but otherwise it looked really dull. And so I just kept screwing around with it. I had no idea what I was doing. And then suddenly it sort of appeared that way, and I thought, well, I guess I can live with that. That's pretty wild, but you know. So, posterized, I guess. And that's for great state fair art. So now I've got the image without my watermark on it. I don't know how that got into the watermark. Anyway, that's a long exposure shot I shot. Now the nice thing we have now is something called high dynamic range, where you can put together images that are at different exposures, and you kind of layer them together in the computer, and it allows you to sort of recreate what your eye sees, but the camera normally couldn't see because it has a fairly small range of exposure. And so I took all these different exposures, bang, 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 bang. I set them on rapid fire, changed the exposure time with the same aperture, and put it on a tripod. And I had to wait till the crowd that was going by. It was just, once in a while you get a break in the crowd, and then I could go take that picture. So you see people down here are all funky because they're moving around. They're funky between the different pictures. So anyway, I like how it was throwing all the light up into the trees. So, but I couldn't have done that without high dynamic range. So I couldn't have done that with film, and I had to wait until I had digital photography to do that. And there's the popcorn stand at State Fair, and again, that's the same thing. I tried to shoot this picture with film, and I could not do it, and so I had to wait until I had a digital camera. And I showed up on Friday night, on East Side night at the State Fair, and carrying my camera and with a tripod.
And a bow tie.
And yeah, I realized I was the only person at the State Fair wearing a bow tie. So, anyway.
There wasn't a clown?
It wasn't a clown. Oh, maybe I will. Wait a minute. All right. And that, again, is just like you think, you look at this picture and you think, that's AI, right? No, it's not AI. That's film, as a matter of fact. And I remember I looked up and there it was, and I thought, thank you, God, for giving me that picture. How could this be possible? But sometimes you get your luck out. Now, I'm going to show you a few pictures that say, there are no bad days to go take a picture, right? And so, rain, snow, sleet, there's always something to be found. Of course, that was used in the cemetery book. So it was nice that there was snow on the ground, but it was evaporating, and so you had this nice effect of the fog and the snow, and kind of spooky. But, and here's an example too of when you have to abandon the color, because there was this bright yellow band that went across the top of this, and it really looked like hell. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to print this as black and white. And so it was really nice because we had this sticky snow, and so that's all the sticky snow that landed on the side of this wall, and then of course they had the snowflakes up there in the window, so it worked out pretty nice. And then of course I kind of brown toned the whole thing, give it a little. Again, more of the same thing. You got to stand out in the snowstorm with the picture, and like that. And so this is nice because then you eliminate all this detail that you don't want because it's snow. So it's great. And then go out in the rainstorm and take a picture in the rainstorm. Now I'm going to show you a bunch of square pictures, just because I really like square pictures. And there are a bunch of square pictures in the book, but you can't always take a square picture. So, but now So I was gonna. Okay, well, that's another square picture. Another square one. One. So I kind of like, breaking these things up right where. So again, the nice thing about digital is that you can go in afterwards and crop it just exactly the way you want it. So, it wasn't until I got it in the computer I realized, okay, I'm gonna make this point come right up to the very edge of the picture. The other thing, which you not see in the book, is that I like to put black borders on pictures a lot. But in this case, in the book, Connie overruled me. So you're not going to put black borders on those pictures. So I said, well, all right, okay. You have to win that one.
So you have to tell them why the inspiration for square photographs.
What's that?
Our inspiration for square pictures when we discovered the work of that great photographer.
Vivian Mayer.
Yeah.
Meyer.
Oh,
Yeah. And she's the master of the square photograph. And they got the little black border, and that was the edge of the negative. So in a way, I'm kind of cheating. I don't actually have a negative, but I just pretend like I do. Now you can actually get, I guess, apps that will put the actual frame number and stuff on the side, which is totally, and that's just wrong.
That is wrong. I can't do that.
And
That's beautiful.
that's a picture you can't get anymore because they chopped down that tree. But I thought it was nice because I thought the tree looked like a Giacometti statue.
Yeah,
Right.
that's beautiful.
So that they kind of mirrored each other there. And this is another picture that, as a color picture, it really sucked. And so, because the colors really sucked. And so I thought, well, we're going to have to make that. And again, I had to, and as a rectangular picture, it kind of sucked too. So I had to drop it down to a square and just take the color off. Okay. And there's the best picture. That's the last picture I have. There's the best picture I ever took. I was helping this Chinese couple that came from North Vietnam, and they wanted a family photograph, and so they were giving the little girl putting her in a fancy costume, and just at that moment, this is just a snapshot. This is not posed in any way. And just at the moment that, of course, she buttons the top button, that's when, her eyes popped open. and of course, she had these wonderful bony hands. So, anyway, that's the best. That's the best picture I ever took. So, at that, we'll leave
It's
it
like
at
a
that.
bow tie.
Looks like a bow tie.
It's like a bow tie. I ruined it for him now. See, she's looking on it.
Well, he doesn't like
I told you. It's wonderful.
So, I was partly motivated because nobody seems to be taking local photographs and making books out of them anymore. And I came in here and asked, I said, if I came up with a photo book of Des Moines, would it sell? And they said, oh, yeah, it would sell. Yeah, for sure. So,
But is it?
somebody here had better buy a book. So I paid for printing those books, and let me tell you, it was expensive. So my goal is to try to nearly break even on this book project.
Sure.
So I ain't going to get rich on this, but anyway. But a lot of people who seem to like it. And it's funny when you do something yourself, you can't really see it that well anymore. You just don't know. Is this really any good at all? I just don't know. You just. I hope you do. Do you have any questions here? Yes.
Who was the guy or the company that went around downtown Des Moines in the early 1900s taking pictures of people and then selling them?
Repeat the question.
Family and stuff. Do you remember?
It was in the early 1900s, 100 years ago.
No, it was like 20s, 30s, 40s.
Oh.
There were some, they'd walk around downtown Des Moines, they just take pictures of people walking around on the street and try to sell them.
Trying to really. this is news to me. John here, my brother John is a local historian, and he's like, shaking his head like, I don't know.
Yeah, but
Did you hear the question?
Newspaper.
we lived in Cedar Rapids, and I've got a bunch of pictures, like my mother and I walking downtown, and so
Yeah.
there was a guy there that would snap them, and
Yeah.
and I know a lot of people, I mean, I'm 74, but the same thing in restaurants. There'd be somebody coming around and they'd snap the picture at the table, and then I don't know how you got them, but I've got, a half dozen of those. So I think that stuff happened. I mean, this is in the 50s,
Yeah.
but that kind of stuff just happened. I mean, we don't know the name maybe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But somebody making money doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
John, when you were taking the pictures of the churches in Des Moines,
Yeah.
You took one of ours, and I thought it was going to be the sanctuary. I mean, why not, right?
Yeah.
But each of the pictures you took had something more intimate about the institution, which I thought was really clever.
Right.
But I do have a question.
Yeah.
You're talking about the different ways that you can photograph and so forth. What's your take on AI and how that's going to affect photography?
Oh, I don't think it's going to be good. I have to admit that I use AI to, if I have an image that is really unsharp, I can put it through an AI program to sharpen it up. But I'm okay with doing dodging and burning digitally and working on pictures like that, because I'm used to doing it in the darkroom, and you can make parts of it darker and parts of this or that, and so, but that doesn't go into actually changing the image per se. For instance, I mean, I could dodge in the sky, for instance, to get the sky to show up better, but I wouldn't like steal a sky from another picture, and say, oh, I think I'll just throw this guy away and throw this guy in. But I think that, I don't know, I just think that we crossed the Rubicon on that. I mean, everybody's doing whatever they want. And, they're making it so easy with your phone to do that, right? Erase things from pictures, take people out of pictures, the rest of it. It's like the old days with Stalin, where, if you find yourself on Stalin's bad side, he not only had you liquidated, but he had you erased from every picture that ever existed. So, my answer is, I'm fearful of how this is all going to go. Nobody's going to believe anything once this.
Well, tell them about how we learned photography in the darkroom.
Oh yeah, our dad Zip was he was a jack of all trades, and so he had a darkroom in the basement, and he processed film and black and white film, and he made black and white prints, and so you have the tray for the developer, and you have the stop bath, and then you had the fixer, and so we would stand on stools and with the tongs, and he'd take the print out of the enlarger and give it to one of us, and we'd put it in the developer, and then move the developer tray back and forth until the timer went off, and then he took the trays, and then with the next tray, and then John would take it with the tongs after a little bit and put it in the fixer. And so that's where we got our start, just helping Zip in the darkroom. And then, of course, we took a lot of photographs in high school. And then in college, they stopped taking pictures in college, pretty much. So there were times that I kind of got away from it. And in fact, I had a job later, much later in the 80s, taking photographs for the business record. And it stopped being fun. When it was work, I just hated it, right? And I didn't take any interesting pictures for the longest time because, I was sick of it, particularly when my job was to take pictures of fat cat businessmen. It just didn't appeal to me too much. So there were sort of dry spells in the middle of this whole thing. But now, of course, the great thing is that I don't have to pay for film, and I don't have to pay for processing. So it really means you can take an awful lot of pictures, and that you couldn't. Otherwise, I couldn't afford it. I didn't have very much money, and I just couldn't afford to throw money at it all the time. So.
Well, you should tell the story. I'll tell the first part of the story because you weren't there.
How about the microphone?
I went off to Italy in 1971, and we were in Florence, and there were a lot of storefronts that had really bizarre things to look at to get your attention. You know, they had this one wood store with these hideous faces, and we took these pictures of these places. And we went back to black and white. Joe Hardy with his black and white camera went back to the studio, and the little dark in the studio was the old kitchen, and you had to turn the lights on and off when people wanted to get in and out of the apartment. And so we would batch the photographs. We'd make like 3 prints or 5 prints. We'd expose them all and then stick them back in the box because somebody wanted to get in the door. You lose track of where you're going, and I came back from a semester in Florence with that box of paper, thinking that you're all just blank paper. And anyway, so Jim shows up with his Georgie Marinos, his college girlfriend, and she wants to learn how to make black and white prints. So he takes it down to the dark room, and they find this. They don't have any paper, and then they find this box of paper that came back from Italy. Oh, this is John's paper from Italy, but they didn't know if it had gotten fogged by the airport scanners. You know, thinking that the X-rays would still fog them, so it would turn out gray. So you pick it up at that point. Because I wasn't there for the rest part.
Well, yeah. Well, anyway, so, the box was all beat up. So I thought I just thought it leaked light because it got so damaged. And I thought, well, let's take the first sheet off and throw it in the developer and see if it turns gray or black or something, or whether it looks okay. And they'll tell us whether we can use this paper. So I threw the top sheet in and waited, and suddenly it started to turn gray, and I went, okay, I guess this is not good. And then suddenly these faces appeared. Boom! It's like instantaneously bizarre faces. These were mannequin heads from wig shop that they'd taken all the wigs off. And it was very grotesque. Of course, she screamed. So, what?
I ran out. Didn't she run away?
I don't recall her running away.
Did you go on another date with her?
Yeah, I went on quite a few dates, but because there was only one Mexican restaurant in town, and she was from New Jersey, and they didn't have Mexican food, so I was her ticket to Mexican food. That was the only reason why she went out with me, was to get Mexican food. All right.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Where did your dad's nickname come from?
Zip.
Zip.
Well, his dad's name was Ellis Zeller, and so his mom thought it'd be cute to put Z in front of Ellis and make him Zealous, Z-E-L-L-I-S. And so everybody always called him Zip. That was just his nickname. And so I'll tell the standard story that everybody's already, half the people already heard here, which was that our older sisters called him Daddy, but we always called him Zip. And so John was in school in second grade or something, and he said something about Zip. The teacher said, well, who's Zip? He said, well, he's my dad. And she said, oh, no. You can't call your father by his first name. You need to call him Dad or Pops or something like that. And he said, yes, ma'am, okay. And so, like a week later, he said something about Zip. And she said, well, Johnny, didn't we have this conversation about that? And he said, yes, ma'am. But I had to talk to Zip. And he told me that we know 100% for a fact that he is Zip. But we ain't nearly so certain he's my daddy. trouble.
I'm so glad I asked.
That was a very zip story. Yes, yes.
Question, Jim, will you be interested in supplementing your book income by selling some of us prints of photos that are in the book?
As a matter of fact, you brought up an interesting thing, and that is one of the reasons I wanted to do this book was that I wanted to nudge Olson Larson Gallery into selling my stuff. And what I did was I gave them a whole bunch of these images, which they have on their computer, and I said, look, you know, you've got, if somebody comes in here and gets sticker shock, and they go, well, I needed like something for the home office, but you know, I don't really want to spend $7,000 for a painting.
Right.
And I said, then you go, oh, hold on, we got something that's on your price range. Maybe you want a $700 framed photograph, and let's go through these pictures. And then Christian Photo could print the pictures, they could frame it, and I'd have a little bit of income, and that'd be great. So there's the answer. Olson Larson has all these images, and they can order prints made. So that's what I would go to them. That way I'd get a little perk from them.
Yeah.
Because I've been trying to get them to actually write a contract, and they keep saying, "Oh yeah, we want to go into that." Anyway, so that's my answer
Thank you.
to that. Yeah. Yes.
I just recently took my 35 millimeter Canon to Christian Photo.
Yeah.
To see if it needed cleaned. It
Yeah.
didn't, but he told me that film was being popular with young people now.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it is. But you know, it's still there's still a problem with that, and that is that let's say you take slide film. Well, you can't get it processed at Des Moines anymore.
Well, he does. I mean, he does.
He sends it.
Some, well, not all.
I mean, he should. I don't think he does any. And of course, the Kodachrome is dead. You know, which is good stuff.
He
Now,
said he processed it.
There's
Slide
some of the film he will do,
Oh, really?
but not all film.
oh.
Well, he better. He talked me into buying a whole bunch of film.
Oh, did he? Negative film? Oh, well, maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know. Yeah, that was where my mother got fed up with Zip, because we have all these old pictures that are shot in Kodachrome. And, you know, there's that song about Kodachrome. Well, Kodachrome was it. It was the bomb. It was the greatest thing ever. And it's incredibly stable. The Kodachrome image will last practically forever. And now they don't make it anymore. So you just can't get it. But the point was that my dad, of course, he had to do everything himself. So he's like, I can get Adrichrome film and I can process it myself. So every picture that he processed was blue, right? And my mother was like, what was so wrong about Kodachrome? You know, but so, as I said, that's what you have when you have a father that thinks he could do it. He could do everything, which he did pretty much, but not processing color film. So I got the job as a custom photo printer from Bud at University Photo, and because I was working at Miller 60 Minutes in Merle Hay Mall, and and Bud came in, and he said, "How'd you like to work for me printing color photographs?" And I seen me like hand printing them, like in the larger and whatnot. He said, "Yeah," and I said, "You know, I don't know anything about that. I've never done that." And he said, "That's okay. You'll figure it out." I had to, because he never gave me any advice on how to do it. And you know, I never really knew what I was doing. I could do it without telling you. I could not tell you what I was doing. I could do it, but I couldn't tell you what I was doing. So then I had this big show of pictures I'd taken. This is back in the 80s. I'd taken around town and made the prints, and Zip made the frames, and we cut the mats, and had this big show of pictures in Des Moines. So that was my first big show, and so some of these I found the negatives, and as far as the prints are pretty much all gone. So anyway, that's that. Anything else?
Can I?
Yes, Michael.
Did you keep any of your old film cameras? I know you were partial to Olympus.
I have no, I don't have any Olympus cameras left. I threw everything away in a mad dash to simplify my life. I have one old film camera that somebody gave me. There was an old Pentax film camera. It was the first camera that I used was the Pentax, and so somebody gave me a Pentax camera, which is what I started out on. Yeah, I started off using Olympus cameras when the digital cameras, well, before digital, actually, I went to Olympus cameras. And I remember I was at a shop, and the fellow handed me the camera, and he said, "These are nice ladies' cameras. They're nice for ladies' hands." And well, my hands aren't that big, you know. So anyway, so I always liked Olympus stuff. And then you get tied in with a particular brand, you know, and you have the lenses and stuff. So then you really can't switch because now you're stuck. But I'm not. You know, you could use any brand. They're all good. You know, it's whatever you get used to and you like.
One more question.
Yeah.
Is there one more question?
Oh, hey.
Can I just add a Zeller story?
Yeah, yeah.
My name's Abe Goldstein. I met these guys at Drake in 1971. I shot photos at that time, and they were trying to put together a photo exhibit. Okay? And I don't even know if you guys know this story. Michael knows it. A couple years ago, I was called to be on the focus group at Drake University for marketing. And their board of trustees was watching this unveil, and there were other people on the panel, and they asked like the dumbest questions in the world. But then they asked, name a successful Drake graduate. People were naming the president of Walgreens, and the vice president of McDonald's, and the president of this insurance company and that insurance company. And it comes to me, and I go, Jim and John Zeller. And all of a sudden, everyone's writing that name down there thinking these are multi-millionaires. Have I ever told you that?
No.
And they'd say, well, what makes them successful? At that time, Jim was working at Dahl's, John was working at Noah's, okay? And the mind of the board of trustees is not really successful. They said, they're doing what they want to do. Great photographer, great historian, they're iconic treasures to Des Moines, and that to me is a success. So,
Thank you.
They'll be calling me for that $1 million endowment.
Well, thank you all for coming. It was a big moment. I'm very happy to see this book out. I'm very happy to see all you.
All righty. Shall we sign some books?
Yeah.